Good morning, everyone. Okay, we'll continue our book reading this morning, Advanced Selling Strategy by Brian Tracy. We're in chapter 10, which is the last chapter for this our book reading. Yesterday we looked at the remaining objection clause. That is what you use or what you do when customers or clients won't proceed with closing a sale. So this is when you ask questions because the client has been quiet or silent for some time. So once you sense a resistance, you can ask questions of why the customer will hesitate to purchase your product or your services. Today, on page 369, we're looking at the lost sale or doorknob close. The lost sale or doorknob close. So we're still in chapter 10, closing the sales end game of selling. So when you have completed the sales process through the end of your presentation and the customer will still not buy and will not tell you the reason, you can use the lost sale or doorknob technique to find out what's holding him back. You have nothing to lose. If you leave the prospect's presence with neither a commitment nor clarity concerning his major objection, the sale is essentially dead. You will not get back in again. By the time you reach your car in a parking lot, the prospect will probably have forgotten your name. So here is what you do. You use reverse psychology, and instead of continuing in your sales effort, you begin to politely disengage and depart. You say, "Mr. Prospect, thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate you talking to me. I hope we can get back together at a later date." As you say this, you package up your materials, close your briefcase, get up, shake his hands and start for the door. The prospect, seeing that you are leaving and that he is no longer under any pressure to defend or explain, begin to relax. Like a person letting out a deep breath, his thoughts will begin to turn to what he will do after you leave. His focus of attention will drift. He will be in the situation of a boxer putting his hands down, thinking that the match is over. As you reach the door, you put your hand on the doorknob as if to go, and then as a seeming afterthought, you turn to the prospect and say, "By the way, Mr. Prospect, just before I go, I wonder if you could do me a favor. It would really help me with my other customers if I know exactly where I went wrong in my presentation to you. What is the real reason you decided not to buy?" And then remain perfectly silent, smiling. Usually, the prospect, now completely relaxed, will finally give you the real reason, like throwing you a flower. He will say something like, "Well, my real concern was that I didn't see how we could justify the cost based on our current level of activities." You then take your hand off the doorknob and say, Mr. Prospect, that's my fault. I obviously didn't explain that part of our program completely. If I could just take another minute, I will show you exactly what we do in that case, and I think you will find that it answers your question perfectly." You then return to your chair, open your briefcase, take out your materials and begin selling again. You'll be amazed at how many sales you will save with this simple process. I get the letters and comments from people all over the country on this method. One young salesman in my seminar told me recently that he closed the big sale of his life with this simple technique. Other types of objections. Last ditch objections. You will hear this in final moments of sales. Sorry, I'll take that again. You will hear this in the final moment of the sales presentation. The prospect had decided to buy, and like a fish on a hook, he is wriggling and squirming a little. He will ask you things like, "How do I know I'm getting the best price?" Or, "Is this the best deal I can get?" Or, are you sure I am doing the right thing here? Your job is to smile and to assure the prospect that he's doing the right thing. You're to make an excellent decision. This is a very good choice. You're going to be very happy with this. Don't let a last-ditch objective put you off. Be pleasant and polite, but continue wrapping up the details of the sales and concluding the transaction. Whatever objections you get, you can continually control the sales conversation with the magic phrases. How do you mean exactly? And obviously, you have a good reason for saying that. Do you mind if I ask what it is? Remember, the person who asks questions has control. When you respond to a question with a question, you're staying in the driver's seat of the sales process. And every time you ask a question and require the prospect to elaborate on a concern of his, you get another opportunity to listen, to build trust, and to improve the relationship. Price as an objection. Let's now turn again to the issue of price. The question of price arises early in almost every sales conversation. How much is it? Leaps out of the prospect's mouth even before he knows what it is you're selling. And no matter what it is you're selling or at what price, his initial reaction is something like, "It is too much. We can't afford it. We don't have the cash. Business is down. Sales are slow. We can get it cheaper somewhere else. We are not in the market. We weren't expecting to pay that much. It is not in our budget. Leave me some information. Let me think over it. Call us back in a year or two." It drives you crazy. No matter what the price is, it is more than the prospect expected to pay. It is always higher than expected to pay. It is always higher than expected. And if you're not careful, first you will get into a discussion about price, then an argument, and then you will spend most of your time wrangling about the price differences between your product and that of your competitors and what the customer is willing to pay. But remember, willingness to pay and ability to pay are two separate issues. People may not be initially willing to pay a certain amount, but that doesn't mean they are not capable of paying that amount. Paying that amount if you can convince them that the value to them of what you're selling is greater than the price you are charging. This is your main job in sales process. As we have said, price is seldom the sole reason for buying or not buying anything. As mentioned earlier, in follow-up studies to customer to ask them why they bought a particular item, fully 94% mentioned non-price item as being the most important single determinant of their decision. When customers are interviewed after they have turned down a salesperson by telling the salesperson that they couldn't afford it, 68% of them admitted to independent researchers that price was not a determining factor. It was something else. They told the salesperson that price was the issue because they had found with experience that was the easiest way to get rid of him. Why does one product sell for more or less than another? It is because of differentiation. A product sells for more or less than a competing product because it is different from the competing product in one way or another. In the perception of the customer, it is worth more or less. It is always the customer in the marketplace who eventually decides what product will sell for. The price the company puts on the product is merely a guess at what the customer will eventually pay. Sometimes it is accurate and sometimes it is not. Only products that are undifferentiated in any way are sold solely on the basis of price. Price is a determining factor in the decision only when products are so identical to each other that the customers cannot tell them apart. And even then, this is not always true. Your job is to find a way to differentiate your product on the basis of non-price factors, and then concentrate your sales presentation on the benefits your prospect receives aside and apart from the actual price he pays. Sometimes I ask the people in my sales seminar if they would like me to prove to them that low price is seldom the major reasons for buying anything. When they nod and agree, they would like to have proof of this. I then ask them this question: is there anyone here in this audience who has a single item of clothing or accessory about their person that they purchased solely because it was the cheapest available? In an audience of 1,000 or more people, there's usually not a single person who has a single item they bought or purchased solely because it was cheaper than anything else available. Every single item owned by every single person was purchased for a non-price reason. The only time that the customer purchases on the basis of price alone is when the sales has been incapable of explaining, rather, when the salesperson has been incapable of explaining the reasons why the prospect should buy it other than in the attractiveness of its price. Everyone asks about price because money is the single common denominator in our society. We use money and prices to orient ourselves in our commercial universe. It enables us to analyze and compare all products and services with other products and services. We like to know the price because it gives us a certain measure of comfort to know where a particular product ranks among the various products available. It is not that we as customers are indifferent to money. It is just that once we know how much something costs, we then go on to make our buying decision based on other factors. Your job as a salesperson is to find out what those other factors are likely to be, and then bring the whole weight of your sales presentation to bear on this factor. So this is where we'll be stopping for our reading this morning, talking about price as an objection and other types of objection. So this morning we looked at the lost sale or the doorknob close. This is an example or is a strategy which you can use as a salesperson to close a sale. So imagine that you're having a sales conversation with a client or a prospect, and at the end of everything, the prospect is not asking a question. He's not saying anything concerning buying, or he's not giving you any objections concerning your product and service. He told us that you can use this strategy in the process where you're about to leave and the client is feeling already relaxed that he has gotten rid of you. You can stop at the door and ask questions, like why does the customer don't want to buy, as in what will make him not want to buy, or what has his hesitation or things that are hindering him from buying. This is another way to open another sales conversation, and it's for people who have used it and for sales professionals who have used it, they've testified that it has actually worked. So I believe this lost sale or doorknob close is self-explanatory. Asking questions at the last minute when you're about to leave, when the customer or the client itself does not even expect that something else may come up. Then we looked at other types of objection. Here is the last ditch objection. These are the final moments in a sales presentation when the prospect has decided to buy, and the rest of it. So questions like this may come up in the customer's mind. At that time when they are ready to buy, they'll be asking you if they are getting it at the correct price, if this is actually a best quality, if they are doing the right thing, are you sure that they need it, and the rest of it. I can give an instance of customers who have walked into the showroom and they also have this kind of objections. When they come in, they are like, do I need this? I think I need this one. I want to buy this one for my fridge, but I think this one is better. Do I need this now? Should I buy all of them now, or should I leave it? It's just that I don't need this one now, but I know I will need it later. Should I buy it now or should I buy it later? So all these things are last ditch objection. Maybe probably they've picked something they want already, but they're still not convinced, or they still want to pick more, or they're still not convinced if they need the particular one they're picking is going to be enough. So all these kind of questions come up in the customer's mind when trying to purchase your product and services at the last minute. So at this stage of the presentation, it is teaching us that you have to be pleasant and polite. Keep telling him about the benefits of the product and the rest of it, and before you can conclude your transaction. So as you keep asking these customer questions, just remember that you're going to be in charge. Like he taught us earlier in our book reading, that the person who is in charge of asking questions is actually the person who is in control. Then he taught us about price and as an objection. So most times, most clients, most prospects don't really consider, they don't really, price isn't the major problem, but they tend to make price the major problem because they feel it's a way that they can dismiss you as a sales person. A proof of that is, an analysis that was done, and they found out that most salespeople didn't just buy the products they bought because of prices. It was because of the quality and the benefits that they were going to get from using this product or from using these services. And also, in terms of this, there should be a difference in terms of pricing with your competitors. It should be a unique difference or a unique thing about your product with other kinds of products that are in the market. With this, pricing won't be an issue, talking about the quality of your product and your service. So that's just a brief explanation of our book reading for this morning. Thank you.